Marianne Williamson, Democratic candidate for president, best-selling author, and activist. Marianne, thank you so much for being with us. You are well known to millions of people who have read your books, including A Return to Love, but not a novice to politics. You've been a political activist for years. You also ran for Congress, people don't know this, in California in 2014. We have a problem with the psychological fabric of our country, as a low-level emotional civil war has begun in too many ways to rip us apart. In order to deal with that, we must address it on the level of our internal being. That's on your campaign website.
To get our country back on track, our government back on track, back to an ethical center that is the true exceptionalism of the American ideal. We need a moral and a spiritual awakening in this country, and nothing short of that is adequate to really fundamentally change the patterns of health and healing. You need more than external remedies. You also have to address the psychological and emotional and spiritual issues that both cause disease and help to ameliorate it when it occurs. And instead, in our Declaration of Independence, it says that all men are created equal, and that God gave all men the unalienable rights to life and to liberty and to the pursuit of happiness, and that governments were instituted to secure those rights. That we, in our generation, are functioning as a government of a few of the people, by a few of the people, for a few of the people. In other words, we have subconsciously reverted to an aristocratic paradigm. I'm very concerned about the NSA surveillance. I'm very concerned about what I consider to be an egregious overreach of the government into our private lives. And democracy doesn't just give us rights. Democracy gives us responsibilities. We need to live up to ours now, right? Our democracy and our capitalism has swerved off course from an ethical center. And we have an amoral economic system we need to discuss. Our current economic system does not lead to a vibrant economy. It leeches when you have short-term profit maximization for huge corporations as your bottom line. You're allowing market forces to replace democracy as your organizing principle for your society. You're not building a strong economy, and we need to name that, see that for what it is. It is propaganda that serves a veiled aristocratic system. We want, of course, a vibrant economy in the United States. What you do is unleash the creativity and the productivity of the American people.
You know, it's interesting.
Have systemic racism, layers of systemic racism that are actually leftovers from slavery.
Right now, you are a candidate who believes that African Americans should receive reparations for slavery, specifically $100 billion paid out in a 10-year annual installment of $10 billion. Is this symbolic, or do you think this money goes to some practical purpose?
This is not symbolic at all. That, of course, was black code laws were passed in the American South, which ensured subpar social and political and economic opportunities for the former slave population. This was not addressed for 100 years until the Civil Rights Movement. And while the Civil Rights Movement gave Voting Rights Act, although that has been chipped away since 2013, and gave a lot of political opportunities that had not been there for the 100 years previous, it did not address the fact that we have not yet paid that debt. I believe $100 billion given to a council that would apply this money to economic projects and educational projects of renewal for that population is simply a debt to be paid. And until we pay it, we will deal with these issues. While we're good at preparing for war, we do not wage peace on the levels we need to.
Tonight, because I was being preemptively criticized for anything that I had to say about Israel, and the Native Americans were on this continent before we got here. And you can't take that analogy all the way. They were not removed by genocide, but some people would say that their removal is no less heinous, and so forth. The Palestinians are likewise ensconced in a psychic place of victimization. Both of them are understandable. The Israelis represent the Jewish psyche that was victimized by the Holocaust, and the Palestinians represent the Palestinian psyche that has been victimized by Israel. And the irony, of course, is that a nation that was founded on the right of statehood, that was the whole point of the founding of Israel, was that the Jews would have a place of their own. They would have their own state. And of course, the irony, which is not lost on people in Israel, by the way, is that now we are dealing with a situation where another people, namely the Palestinians, feel that they are being denied just that, a right of statehood.
In order for this country to be secure, we need to wage peace as much as we need to be prepared for war.
Number of proposals already out there listed on your website, some very specific. You call for universal health care, Medicare for all, make permanent the middle class tax cut, provide free higher education, including free tuition for public colleges, introduce government support for children's services, establish a Green New Deal.
I certainly agree with many of the things that Bernie Sanders says, many of the things that Elizabeth Warren says. I'm simply